The college basketball experience, Providence Friars 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by the SGPN merch store. Use the promo code NFCBeast for 15% off, active until the Eagles or Giants lose their next game. And we got some great college football and college basketball experience t-shirts in there. So hop on over there, use that promo code, and let it ride, people.
This is Martin Cleese, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo-wee. Welcome to the college basketball experience, Providence Friars 2022-23 season preview episode. My name is Kobe Swinging Database Dad, a.k.a. Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink, and I don't have stress, and I'm healthy.
It's that time of year. College hoops right around the corner. And ever since I was a kid, I love me some Providence Friar basketball. One of the guilty pleasures out there. I am joined, though, by a guy who's monumental behind the scenes of the college football experience, monumental behind the scenes of the college basketball experience, and host of the college baseball experience. You also hear him on the MLB Gambling Podcast. I mean, pretty much he's probably got 30 podcasts. I don't even know. Give it up for my guy, Noah Beanick. How you doing, Noah?
What's good, Colby? I mean, it's been a little while for me and you, but dude, I'm antsy for college baseball. Now I know, college baseball, MLB, but dude, I don't think there's a better sports game to watch, in my opinion, than a college basketball game. There's no game that, like, the action goes back and forth and the upsets, they make the sport fun for me to watch. The way I roll, I favor the underdog. I like a lot of plus money plays. And Colby, you and I recorded the Sweet 16 pod for the Friars in Kansas last year. May I remind you, I peppered that quadrant of the bracket. I had South Dakota State money line on Iowa, the Providence plus 275 to advance to the Sweet 16. And sadly, Friars fans, I did have Kansas go into the Elite Eight, but that was plus 120 as well. So we both picked the Friars to cover in that game. I listened to it again prior to this podcast recording. Plus 7.5. They won, or they covered at 66-61. Needless to say, it took a national championship team to end this Friars season last year. And I'm sure Providence fans are just as antsy as I am to see what the 2022-23 season unfolds.
Yeah, and I believe, if memory serves me correct, couple huge shots by Remy Martin. But hey, it was great. Yeah, he was electric in the final minutes, and unfortunately, the Friars season came to an end. I would have loved to see Providence grab the dub there. But what a great season for Ed Cooley, 27-6. Come on, that's the best season at Providence. That is the best season at Providence since what? I believe it's 1974. All right. 1974, when they were 28-4. I mean, come on. What a great job. And now, you look at this team, and I feel like I should rattle off, some of the accolades besides, what left, which we'll get to in a second. But you look at what they did a year ago. They did a lot of good things well, but they also, had areas where I'm sure that Cooley will want to improve in. And first off, he did give us this gem last year. as I continue to ramble a little bit, but he gave us this.
26 minutes for Jalen. Was he on any kind of pitch count or anything? Or was
No, there's no pitch count. This isn't the major league. But I don't believe in none of that, by the way. I don't believe in pitch count, minute count, rep count. These kids are 21, 22 years old. You know, all of us old guys in here, we would die to play in a game like that for 40 minutes. Pitch count, come on, man. That's some BS that, you know, the pros use. I don't believe in that. I'm far from a pro and I'm far from pretty.
That's some NBA stuff right there.
Yes, exactly. Shout out to Ed Cooley, big fan. But yeah, you look back at last year's team, and yeah, 200 and what? 261st in 3-point percentage. You say, well, that's not great. Field goal percentage, they were 232nd. So how did you win games? Well, you won games because they were a strong defensive team, but also, they also were a pretty damn good rebounding team. 118th in the nation in offensive rebounding. It's crazy when you kind of dive into the stats and try to see, how a team shakes out, and it's like, man, if they could shoot a little bit better, they might have beat Kansas. I got to go back and pull up the box score, but it seems like free throw shooting, 3-point shooting, always, an issue for them a season ago, but yet they still had a very good year. And looking at this year's team and seeing what all has departed, Al Durham is gone. That was a vital transfer get that they had, from the season prior. 13.6 points a game, 3.4 rebounds a game, 3.4 assists. And then Nate Watson, the big man who played, critical in a lot of games for them, 13 points, 5.2 boards. He's gone. Noah Horchler, right? He was their 3-point guy, kind of their guy to stretch the court, kind of a big man, but at the same time liked to play out there on the wings. I feel like Horchler averaged just shy of 10 points a game, 9.9 points per game, but 8.5 rebounds. So he was critical. Then you add in AJ Reeves, just about 10 points a game, 2.6 rebounds per game. And then the South Carolina transfer, Justin Minaya, at 6.5 points per game, 5.5 rebounds per game. And holy shit, you have a lot of players that were very important to this team's success a season ago gone. What do you make of all that left Providence?
Well, I mean, they lost all 5 starters, first off. There's a lot of pedigree to Ed Cooley now. He carries that 2022 Naismith College Coach of the Year. The Friars, they were doubted all last year, projected 7th in the preseason. They won their first ever Big East title. Cooley molded a 6-loss team from a bunch of transfers last year. He lost all 5 of his starters, like I mentioned, this year. He brought in a new crop of transfers for this year. The Coach of the Year hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt from the pollsters, I guess. They are doubting Cooley again, projecting the Friars 5th in the Big East, 57th in Ken Palm's preseason rankings, and they're not even receiving votes in the AP preseason poll. Those things are such a sham, right, Colby?
Oh, they are. You know me. Don't get me started on that. But yeah, I mean, and this is a team that kind of, from an analytical standpoint, kind of defied.
They were viewed as lucky last year.
Yeah.
I have a few stats on that, actually. They were 15-1 straight up at home at the Pavilion, where they united kind of a fan base after COVID. Their home court advantage was rowdy.
Yeah.
But PC, they were a road warrior last year. 7-2 on the road, 7-3 straight up as an underdog, and 5 of those wins as an underdog came on the road. The Friars finished 3-0 in overtime and 8-1 in games decided by 4 points or fewer.
Yeah, and I think that's where they still, though, they went as far as the bracket told us they should have went. So, the analytics were wrong. Those analytical nerds were saying, this team's not any good. Shout out to the Friars for just a great year. Now they do return a couple decent pieces I feel like you should be excited about. Jared Bynum. Yes, the 5'10 guard. I believe he's out of Maryland, if memory serves me correct. 12.2 points per game a season ago, 4 assists and 1 steal a game. Now, he hit some critical shots in some of the big games, and I thought, wow, it's great to get him back. And then Ed Croswell, they got Ed Croswell. I mean, you look all throughout this team, it's hard to find a lot of returning pieces. But hey, between those two, yes, there's a redshirt freshman, Corey Floyd Jr., He didn't get any actually, he was a transfer from UConn that could play a big role in this season. Let's just get to it now, I guess. What comes in via the portal? This is college basketball and college athletics in 2022-23, where the portal is such a huge factor.
It's free agency.
It is. And you saw, certain teams, and to me, the teams that are late to adapt to this, it cost them. We watched the Final Four last year. I mean, everyone did, hopefully. Remy Martin, we just talked about him. Transfer get from Arizona State. How key. I don't think Kansas wins a national championship without Remy Martin.
He was arguably going for the most outstanding player in the Final Four.
Yeah. Well, how about North Carolina? Brady Manick. Without Brady Manick, I don't think North Carolina goes to the Final Four. You're seeing how key the transfer portal is. Houston had a couple guys too. Nova's kind of the one that defies the odds and got to the Final Four without really many transfers. So I do think it's a vital ingredient in today's college basketball is how can you improve your team, and are you taking the steps? And I think that the coaches that you're seeing the football and basketball levels now, Jay Wright being an exception last year, and I think Dabo Sweeney's got to find ways to get creative that in football, but in general in college athletics, you gotta get hip to this, because if not, you're going to get lost in the luster. You saw many teams, I feel like over the past couple of years, that have been reluctant to do moves in the portal. For a while, I thought Kentucky. Now they've adapted. They still got upset by St. Mary's, but that's my point, is that you've seen some of these teams reluctant to do that, and it's cost them. So Ed Cooley's staying ahead of it. He brings in Bryce Hopkins. Speaking of Kentucky, he comes in, and I'm excited about that get, because he was just a freshman, and obviously Kentucky extremely talented every year. I think you look. I can rattle off his stats: 6'7" forward, 6.5 points per game. 6.5 minutes per game, 2.1 points per game. But I'm telling you, he's a lot more talented. That Kentucky team's unbelievably loaded. So that is a gigantic get in my eyes. In my eyes, that is a gigantic get. Then, to me, a really big one was getting Devin Carter from South Carolina.
Going back to that well.
Yes, going back. Minaya was a good – now give me Carter. Frank Martin's gone. He's at UMass. Devin Carter a year ago, and just 18 minutes a game, got 9 points per game, 3.8 boards, 1.8 assists. I think that's a gigantic get.
And he's kind of like a carbon copy of Minaya, points and boards.
Yeah. Then they bring in Clifton Moore from LaSalle. Now, this is one I need to circle, because it's always a step up. You never know sometimes when you go out some of the smaller schools, and when you bring them in, they can go to, sometimes they flourish, at this level, but sometimes it goes the other way too. So that is one I think you should circle. Clifton Moore's success. I'll tell you this though, getting a 6'11" forward, a grad transfer that with the Explorers of LaSalle, played 30 minutes a game there, 13.6 rebounds, 1.2 assists. Now he's going to be your Nate Watson. He's filling the shoes of Watson. We'll see how that transitions to playing in the Big East. But then after that, they go out and I really like this getting Noah Locke.
Yeah.
Now, he's been all over. I remember him at Florida, then he was at Louisville. But still, this is a grad transfer. And I think that's something that's important too. And I look at this team on what they have veteran-wise. Well, like I just alluded to, Clifton Moore, Noah Locke, Bynum is a senior, a super senior, and even Croswell. So you have a lot of experience there. But yeah, Noah Locke, just 10 points a game, just about at Louisville last year. It was a disaster in Louisville, not for Locke, but in general, just their whole basketball season last year was a disaster. So now he goes with Ed Cooley, and it's going to be really interesting to watch. And then I alluded to this, Corey Floyd Jr., the UConn transfer. It'll be interesting to see, because I know they were excited about that get. Now
in conference,
in conference. It's a cold world these days, man. It's a cold world. Everyone's like, you know what? I didn't get any burn last year. Fuck you. I'm out of here. All right. And that's the problem. But they also brought in a couple big time freshmen in Jaden Pierre from LI Lutheran. That's going to be interesting to watch. And then Quante Berry, another freshman out of Winston-Salem. I don't know how many of these guys will get on the court, the freshmen, when I look at how experienced that team is. But I got to say, considering they lost those key pieces, I thought he did a great job adding some good pieces. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, I thought it was a great job adding pieces as well. And we mentioned it earlier in the podcast. He did it last year. So that gives me more comfortability that he's going to be able to do it this year. And like you mentioned, Noah Locke, he was a 39% three-point shooter. That's going to do well in replacing or just giving another source of scoring other than Jared Bynum, who was the sixth man of the year last year. Bynum was great, 12 points, 4 assists, 3 boards, averaged a game, and then he shot 41% of the three. So you got two options out there beyond the perimeter. Clifton Moore is the guy that I'm a little bit higher on than you, I guess, mainly because he is very experienced, whereas Hopkins is not. He hasn't had much time on the floor over there at Kentucky. Moore, he was in an A-10, not a very good team last year, though I remember his performance against St. Bonaventure. LaSalle beat St. Bonaventure, and they had Big O over there with the Bonnies. So he's able to compete with some of the big bigs in the A-10.
It's not that I'm not high on him. I just think night in, night out, if you're going in with the Big East, it's a brand new world. Now,
and
he might work out and be great, but continue on.
And much like you, I'd say recruiting rankings kind of a grain of salt, but I think how a player performs depends on coaching and opportunity. Each player's work ethic is different. Ranking high schoolers is virtually impossible, in my opinion. That's why I don't really pay much attention to them. But if rankings mean weight to you, Corey Floyd was a top 100 guard who was redshirted last year at UConn, like we mentioned, came in from another team in the conference. And then Bryce Hopkins, he was a top 40 prospect who didn't really play much at Kentucky. Both will get their chances to play under Cooley. It's just how much time, what's going to be their opportunity. Hopkins may have a chance to start. We might talk about that in a little bit here.
Yeah, we are going to talk the starting lineup here, but first I got to get us paid. I want to tell you that the college basketball experience, Providence Friars 2022-23 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks presented by WynnBET. Bet $100 at WynnBET and get a $100 free bet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bet today. We're also brought to you by No House Advantage. No House Advantage is changing the game by offering the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available today. You can play in pick'em contests versus other people for a shot at winning $250K in cash. Download the app, choose a contest, select your player props, earn points for correct picks, and climb up that leaderboard for your shot to win big money every single day. You can also test your skills against the house and earn 20 times the amount of money you enter if you hit all your picks. It's not just NFL, it's NBA, it's MLB, it's PGA, it's MMA, it's even NASCAR. So sign up now with the promo code SGPN at nohouseadvantage.com or download the app in the App Store to get a first deposit match of up to $25. Yes, make sure to check out No House Advantage today and experience daily fantasy sports redefined. We're also brought to you by Babbel. If you're like me, and there's a foreign language that you regret not learning in school, even though I took the fucking class multiple years, well, it's never too late to correct, being a moron. With Babbel, I mean, well, maybe you just want to learn a language. You don't have to be a moron. I'm not saying everyone out there doing this is a moron.
Oh, I was a moron too. I took German and then played baseball with a bunch of Hispanics who spoke Spanish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I was sitting there, I had my TI-81 calculator. I was playing that fucking drugs game. It was like there was some game where you sell drugs through mathematics.
You spell words upside down in your calculator too.
Of course, that was me. So Babbel's going to be able to correct that. It's getting that second chance, that mulligan. All right. So Babbel is the language learning app that sold more than 10 million subscriptions. Yes. And look, with Babbel, you only need for me, this is perfect. 10-minute lessons. All right. 10-minute lessons. For me, I had block scheduling. So the main reason why I was on my calculator, selling virtual drugs, I was in a spot where I was bored. 2 hours of something, that's a little bit too heavy. Trying to learn a new language like that, I don't think that's the way to do it, at least with myself. So 10-minute lessons, boom, and then in 3 weeks they start you having real life conversations in a new language. So other language learning apps use artificial intelligence, but come on, it's 2022. Sometimes that AI stuff is a bunch of nonsense. How many times you read about the cars crashing into each other? I still believe in humans. All right. And Babbel does too, because their lessons were created by over 150 different language experts and voiced by real native speakers, not computers. Their teaching methods have been scientifically proven to be effective. And look, you can choose. It's not just Spanish. For me, I'm doing Spanish, but it's 14 different languages: German, Italian, French. Go on and on and on. So start your new language learning journey today with Babbel. Right now, get up to 55% off your subscription when you go to babbel.com/SGP. That's BABBEL.com/SGP for up to 55% off your subscription. Babbel, it's language for life, baby. All right. We are back talking Friar basketball and trying to figure out the starting five here. Obviously I'm not in these practices, and for some of these teams, I think I can nail it as far as forecasting the starting five. Well, Providence is one of these teams where I feel like I take a sip of whiskey and I say, this is what I would project. Jared Bynum starts. I know, he was an energy guy a season ago, but still, I think he's going to start, being that he's a senior, that he's one of the only guys that knows Cooley's system. I would then assume that it's going to be Noah Locke at the 2.
I agree with you there, both of them.
At the 3, this is where it gets a little tricky. It's where it gets a tiny bit tricky here. I'm going to make the assumption that it's Devin Carter.
Agreed.
What do you think? Yeah. At the 4, it is going to be Ed Croswell. At the 5, Clifton Moore. Do we agree?
I agree with you there. I had Croswell at 5, but I think where it gets a little bit shaky is either at the 4 or the 5. Who's the second big man starting other than Croswell?
And they could go small ball. They could go small ball.
Which, yeah, I think Cooley prided himself on out rebounding teams last year. So I don't know if they're going to go small ball. You have Clifton Moore, and I would start him in the beginning of the season because he is a senior, a veteran who just wants to win, and he may adapt to an Ed Cooley role faster than a hotshot prospect who didn't get a lot of time last year. But if Bryce Hopkins does buy into a role and doesn't quest to be a star player, that guy could project to be somewhat of a Noah Horchler, where he's a stretch big man. He's got the ability to shoot a 3-ball, but he can grab rebounds as well. That's my one toss-up decision there.
Yeah. I think that's going to be the starting 5. It'll be interesting to see if Pierre or Barry get some quality burn. I know, decent recruits there, but we'll see. I think that's the way to look at the starting 5. If I had to gun to my head, I think that's what it is. And I think it's a pretty good starting 5 considering what you lost last year. If you were, I know the Big East is just loaded. I know the Big 12 is probably the best basketball conference, but I feel like the Big East is in that realm right there because game in, game out. I've already previewed a few of these teams in the Big East. I'm looking at these starting 5s, and I say, they're kind of neck and neck with a lot of the other ones. So
the reason why I love the Big East too is it's a basketball first conference. This is what their athletic programs care about.
Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Let's take a look at the schedule. Let's talk at a conference schedule. So the schedule starts on Tuesday, November 8th. Hell yeah, the moving company, aka Rider University, is coming in to the Dunkin' Donuts Center. And wow, what a gift to get the moving company in your openers. Now the season opens technically on November 7th, so they have the first night off. Then on November 8th, the moving company comes in to Providence, Rhode Island. This game's on Fox Sports 1. 1-0, right?
Yeah, don't lose your bye games. 1-0. New Jersey team, so somewhat local. They might come in with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, but I think they get past Rider.
Then you got 4 days off, and then you got Northeastern in Providence. Is at the dunk as well, as they call it on Fox Sports 2. Northeastern actually keeps a decent basketball program. I think if any of the first three matchups, if they were to get upset by any of the first three matchups, I think it would be Northeastern, but I still got them winning this. You?
I would give it to Ryder, but yeah, I got them beating Northeastern.
All right, and then they have Stonehill, new.
Welcome to D1.
Shout out to Stonehill, as they're undefeated right now in the FCS college football ranks. Remember to subscribe to the College Football Experience as well. This is on FS2 on November 15th, Tuesday, November 15th. I got them winning that one as well.
Yeah, I think Providence just kind of rolls right through.
Then comes November 19th, Saturday, November 19th. We get the 2022 Basketball Hall of Fame tip-off. Very excited. Shout out to my guy, Cousin Mush. I know he's a big Providence fan. He's probably going to head up to this one if I had to imagine. Jimmy Larinaga and the Miami Hurricanes will be playing at Mohegan Sun Arena in Connecticut. This one gets tricky because Miami getting Nigel Pack, getting a few other transfers, bringing back some guys. NIL in effect down there in South Florida. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I agree with you. This one does get tricky. For me, I think all four of these teams, they all have early season questions, and their ceiling is probably third in all of their respective conferences. St. Louis, maybe you get a second there in the A-10, but Dayton looks like they are the favorite in that conference. I think this tournament matters most to St. Louis because they got to build that resume up. Yes. So I think they emerge and they win it because they need it. As for this Providence-Miami game, the Hurricanes, they're a small ball team. I give a clear advantage to the Friars on the glass, and I think Bynum's going to hold his own over Isaiah Wong. Give me the Friars to win this one and then lose to St. Louis in the tourney final.
Yeah, Maryland, St. Louis taking off in the other game, so they're going to get the winner or loser depending how Providence shakes out. But, man, that Miami game is tough because here's the thing. I feel like it's tougher for Providence. Yes, Miami's bringing in a couple guys via the portal, but I feel like they have more of their glue from last season. They did lose some guys, but they got a couple guys, like there's a little bit more familiarity with Miami than Providence. And this being, 12 days after the season starts, I think I lean Miami because of that. How fast can they grow up under Cooley or mesh together? Not necessarily grow up because they're a veteran team. I think it's a 50-50 game. I kind of lean Miami. And then the St. Louis Maryland angle, who knows who wins that? But I'm going to say this: they're going to get one of those in Connecticut. So I got them 4-1, coming back home November 23rd. How about yourself? You got them 5-0?
No, I have them losing to St. Louis in the tourney final. I've got them 4-1 as well.
Okay, so then Merrimack comes to Providence on November 23rd. Merrimack, shout out to them. They came up a couple years ago. That should be a dub for Cooley and the Friars. Yourself, where do you stand there?
I agree. Yep.
Then they then they take on Columbia out of the Ivy League. That will be a dub as well. I'm assuming you agree.
Yes.
Okay, then they head in the big one here. Big East, Big 12 battle. This is in Fort Worth, Texas. Taking on Jamie Dixon and TCU. This is an awesome game. And if you know Jamie Dixon's teams, I feel like there's a little bit of an identity that is similar to Providence. TCU is supposed to be loaded this year. This is on the road. If this was in Providence, I would probably take Providence, but it's in Fort Worth. I'm taking the Horned Frogs of TCU to win this one. How about yourself?
Yeah, I've got TCU in Fort Worth as well.
So that would then have them at
I've got them at
6-2 out of the month of November. 6-2.
Yes.
Right? You got them there as well. Then comes, love this matchup on December 3rd. Archie Miller's the new head coach at Rhode Island. This game's on ESPNU in Kingston, Rhode Island at the Ryan Center. Providence at Rhode Island. Hell yeah, we love rivalry games. We love, that is the epitome of what college athletics, let alone college basketball, is all about. And I am going to take the Friars here, but I am very intrigued to see what Archie Miller can do in the first month to get ready for this matchup.
I thought we were getting a classic Colby. Watch out, because this one you're on the road against another little island in Rhode Island. And right there in your home state. And I mean, they were feisty early in the season and they fell off in conference play. Just watch out. I have Providence winning this one, but not an easy task.
Yeah. And then afterwards on December 7th, they host Manhattan. Manhattan was all right last year, but I think they should be able to handle Manhattan. And you got Manhattan or perhaps their matchup on December 10th against Albany. Those games are on FS1. I think they should be able to cruise past those. Yeah,
me too. Shout out Manhattan. They recruited me for a little bit for baseball, but yeah, I got 2 wins there for Providence.
There we go. Shout out to the Jaspers. Yes, then the Big East is a little bit different than some of these other conferences. They start conference play Saturday, December 17th. Hell yeah. So at a conference, before I get to the conference play, at a conference, what is a great season, I think, or a great expectation for Cooley to keep this program rolling? I would say, 1 or 2 losses at a conference is a really good one. Realistically, I think 2 or 3, right? What would be terrible? Anything more than that, I think you might panic, especially if you got to 5 or something. I think it would be, disappointing. Then conference play starts on November 17th. So what we'll do is we'll stop at the end of 2022, and then we'll look at 2023. But I'm curious. They open up awesome matchup. Providence at Seton Hall. Shaheen Holloway, the new coach there with the Pirates. This game's on Fox. Shaheen Holloway's bringing in some transfers too. What do you make of Providence at Seton Hall? Talk about a coin flip game to me. I think I give Providence a slight edge, but the fact it's on the road at Seton Hall and the buzz created by Shaheen Holloway that he's coaching at his alma mater, I think give me Seton Hall.
I love the term coin flip game because I think this one is quite literally a coin flip. And the road environment, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, it didn't affect the Friars last year. Brand new coach over there with Shaheen Holloway for Seton Hall. I have Providence winning this game as they were 7-2 on the road, and 5 of those were as an underdog. So I think they would probably enter this one as an underdog. And I'm going to give this one the edge for the Friars because later on in the schedule, I think it gets really tough on the road.
All right, well, then on December 20th, they host Shaka Smart and Marquette. Year 1, Shaka Smart way ahead of schedule. Lost a couple guys from this offseason. So people were thinking, they were projected. Some publications had them as far as last in the Big East or second to last a season ago. Shaka got them to the NCAA tournament. They did get destroyed when they got there, but still, great first season for Shaka Smart. Year 2,
they lost them national champions. So they got destroyed, but
good team. Yeah, exactly. The runner-up, the runner-up. Yeah.
Sorry.
Taking on Marquette. I got them beating Marquette, though. It's at the Dunk. Nobody comes into the Dunk and grabs a dub. All right, let's go. December 20th. It's Christmas time. Don't do any of your fucking shopping on the 20th. Go to the game. Come on, fans out there. What are you doing here?
They renamed the court?
I saw Amica Mutual Pavilion. Get all that shit out of here. It's called the Dunk. All right.
It is. I think I called it the Pavilion earlier, but it is the Dunk. I've got them beating Marquette here.
Then comes, and this is the final game of the season for 2022. As obviously college basketball season goes into 23. They are in Indianapolis, Indiana, Hinkle Fieldhouse, one of my favorite places to catch a basketball game. Taking on the Butler Bulldogs. And look, this is one I haven't released. It's coming out right away. So by the time you're listening to this, it's probably going to be out. I just did the Butler preview. I am high on Butler. I am higher on Butler than what many people are.
A lot of people.
Yeah. I'm taking Butler to win this game. At Hinkle, I think Thad Matta, has, first off, great hire. Should have never been fired from Ohio State. Then the amount of talent that he brought in, I am sold on what is going on there. Now, Ed Cooley's fantastic. I think he did a great job patching together some key pieces, but I think it's a tough trip in Indianapolis. I got Butler winning this. How about yourself?
It's a tough trip, but I'm going to give this one to the Friars as well. I think on the road, like I mentioned, that record stands alone from last year. They performed well. I'm not going to hold that against Cooley. He's one of my favorite coaches that I loved back in last year. I do believe that the road games catch up to him later on in the schedule, like I already hinted. So,
yeah. All right. Well, now we'll get into to the conference or 2023 play. But before I get there, I want to tell you folks out there that the college basketball experience is brought to you by Fubo TV. If you watch football and basketball, you need Fubo TV. Fubo TV gives you complete coverage of college and pro football and basketball. They got the NFL Red Zone. They got games in 4K at no extra charge. There's over 100 channels of live sports and entertainment for a fraction of the price of cable. You can watch it on all your devices, never miss a game or maybe an episode of your favorite TV show because they give you included cloud-based DVR. Plus, there's no contract. There's no commitment. You can cancel at any time. Right now, you can try Fubo TV for free for 7 days. Get 15% off your first month, people. Just go to FuboTV.com/SGP. That's FUBOTV.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by OddsTrader. OddsTrader is a place to compare odds from all the major sports books. You can also compare the different sign-up codes and promo codes from sportsbook to sportsbook to assure yourself that you get yourself the very best deal possible. It also is a bet tracker, so bettors can keep records of all your games and betting activity. For a guy like me, that's always huge because I find myself in November and December betting on like 30 different fucking sports. Organize it for me. That's always fantastic. Go to oddstrader.com/bluewire. OddsTrader, the #1 site for all your game day bets. All right, we are back talking Friar basketball here, and let's, I'm not going to go game by game because you never know Big East play. Every team's good. You never know what the injury situation will be. But I want to have you look into 2023 at their schedule and say, what is the 3-game stretch that is going to be the most critical for the Friars? Like they got to come out of there with some, can they survive it, and can they grab a couple wins because they're going to be resume builders for getting in the big dance? I can tell you, the Big East, and yeah, we'll talk after that. But what is the 3-game stretch that you see that just says, whoa? I think I have my eyes on one, and I'm curious if it's the same as yours.
It's a gauntlet. I have 2 little stretches of 3 games that I'll give you, but the one that I think is going to matter most comes in February, where they have Creighton at home, Villanova at home. Those are going to be 2 huge games where they're going to have the crowd on their side, and then they have UConn on the road. Just 4 days after that Nova game at home.
100%. That's exactly what I had circled. Because what can get you into the NCAA tournament and what can get you decent seeding? Wins against, Creighton's projected to be in the top 10. They're probably going to be in the top 10. Jay Wright might be gone, but I think they did the right hire by bringing in Kyle Neptune, who's familiar with the program, being Wright's former assistant. I think those are 2 tournament teams right there. If you could score wins against them at home at the Dunk on national television, that would be huge. And then the game at UConn. I had the same 3-game stretch circled. And we didn't talk about this pre-episode.
Do you have a trap game?
Trap game, I would say leading up to that, potentially the game at St. John's. St. John's, I've had a hard time getting a read on St. John's with Mike Anderson. Obviously, he's on the hot seat there. He brings in some big-time recruits. Posh Alexander's back. But that's a tricky game because you are probably thinking, hey, we got Creighton. I do expect Creighton to be in the top 10 to 15. And I think Nova probably will be in that vicinity, somewhere in the top 25 as well. So you are going to be looking ahead there, and you got to go to Queens, or not even Queens. This one's in Madison Square Garden. So it's a sleepy spot there for you because you're probably looking ahead. How about yourself?
Yeah, I like your spot there. I'm going to go with a spot where they have 2 road games in a row. They're January 14th, they go on the road and play Creighton. That one's going to be a tough one. But then their next game after that is January 18th. In the midweek, they have a back-to-back road. They go to Marquette up in Wisconsin. Last year, they lost 88-56. They cannot do that again this year if they want to make a good statement and get up there in the Big East. Try to repeat, or who knows? Maybe they're in a little bit of trouble early on in the year. That's a bad loss, I think, with the way that Marquette is being projected this year.
Yeah, you're right, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so now I know this is incredibly hard to do without knowing injuries, without knowing, what can happen in a season. But where do you think? Because I can tell you my answer, but Providence will fall within the pecking order of the Big East, which it's such a great conference. I would say like 1 through 10 is really good. And you've had DePaul in the cellar for a while, but I thought they showed some signs of life in Stubblefield's first year there. I know losing Jones to St. John's is huge, but I feel like there's not much of a gap between, especially like the third team in the Big East. To
speak to the skill of this conference, Xavier lost like 11 straight games or whatnot. What was that at the end of the year? They were like top 5 in the country after a couple of big wins, and then they just plummeted.
Well, and they won the NIT, and I was the guy that projected them to make the NCAA, or that I said they got the tournament. The committee got it wrong. They should have been in, and boom, then they go win the NIT and make me look like a fucking genius. So shout out to the Musketeers. So let me ask you, what is your pecking order then of where Providence will fit within the Big East and where you have them?
So I think there's a clear three-headed dragon in Creighton, Villanova, and UConn. A lot of people think that Creighton's going to win this one. Villanova with the new coach, Neptune, scares me a little bit. I like UConn to actually win the conference this year. And then Providence, I think, falls into that second tier where you have Providence, Seton Hall, you have Xavier. You're high on Butler. St. John's is also getting a lot of talk. I think we could see the best finish for Providence. Like best case scenario is 3rd, worst case scenario is 8. I'm going to put them at 6th in the Big East.
Okay, so yeah, I don't have the 3-headed dragon. I think it's more so 1-headed dragon, maybe 2. Neptune is a little bit of a question mark, but I think maybe 2. I got Creighton and Nova on that next level. UConn, yes, I obviously Sanogo's back. It's another year building the program for Hurley. I do think they're really good, but I think those games, I put obviously Sean Miller comes into Xavier. They're an experienced team. I think they're going to be a lot better. But I put Butler in that mix. I put, like, honestly, from 3, I think Creighton and Nova will finish in the top 2, right? And I'm not even all the way sold on the Nova play.
No, neither am I.
After that, I can make the case that Providence could finish 2nd or 3rd. I could also make the case that they could finish 10th, because I think another thing is Georgetown, I thought, did a great job in the portal. I got him. My pecking order, gun to my head right now, is I would go Creighton 1, Nova 2. Oh, 3 is tough. 3 is really tough. Let's go at 3. I'll go.
You're going to pin yourself for all these other team previews?
I'll go. Yeah, it's true. I'll go UConn 4 Butler, 5 Xavier, 6. I got 6. I got Providence coming in 6th.
So we're both at 6th place for Providence.
Maybe. Best, like I said, best case scenario
is 3.
Yeah, and worst case, I could actually see it, and I don't mean this as a shot at Cooley. This is a testament to how great the Big East is. I could see it 10th. So
I think they come in ahead of DePaul. DePaul's in a rough spot.
Well, there's 11, so DePaul could still be number 11, and Providence.
I'm just saying, I think they're above DePaul. I mean, Marquette, I also took a little bit of a dump on in this podcast. So maybe 9 is the lowest. I think 8's the lowest, though, for them.
Well, how about this? Is Providence in the NCAA tournament this year?
Yes. I think they're probably an 8 and 9 seed.
I think they get in, too. I think they're a bubble team. Okay. I think they're a bubble team that gets in. All right.
So you're predicting them to come in 6th, and then you're going to put them on the bubble in the Big East.
Well, I mean, you're talking about one game. Like, they could, if they win one game from 6 to 4, I don't think it would be a big gap. And then they could also in 7th, 8th. I mean, honestly, St. John's, when I look at their starting 5, I think it's right on par with Providence's. When I look at Seton Hall's starting 5, I go, man, these are going to come down to critical games. I cannot decide which team is better. But yes, I got them in the NCAA tournament. Don't worry. Let's go. Right. Let's go Friars. All right. Come on. Guilty pleasure. I said I've been liking them since the days of fucking Marty Conlon. All right. Providence. Hey, how about you start your football program? Let's do that. All right. Let's get the football program going. I see Rhode Island and Bryant doing some things up there. Let's go. It's a new era, college athletic. Let's get some stuff going with the football program.
FCS football previews.
Yes, let's go. Folks, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Make sure you give Noah a follow on Twitter at 77NB. You see it right there if you're watching on YouTube. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/The College Experience. We come together with the College Football Experience. Subscribe to the College Football Experience. Subscribe to the College Baseball Experience, which Noah Beanick is at the forefront of right there. And also, Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. Oh, yeah, you're just an NFL guy? I like my Providence basketball and I like NFL. Oh, well, Ryan Real Money Kramer and Sean Stacking the Money Green have been fucking destroying the NFL for like over a decade. All right. Sean gave away a lineup, a DFS lineup that went over 200K. Boom. What are you doing? Subscribe to the Sports Gambling Podcast, people. Check out the NFL Gambling Podcast. Check out what it's still, this is October. It's baseball season. Check out the MLB Gambling Podcast. Noah does great work there too. What else do we got? We got soccer around the corner. World Cup. All right. Check out the Soccer Gambling Podcast.
You forgot to mention that you make appearances on SGP with college basketball. So
there we go. You see that? He's helping me out there. Check out, you get the SGPN app. You'll have access to all of it. Come talk Providence hoops with us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. I'm telling you, we got a lot of good stuff to plug. You got to check it all out. It's a lot of fun. Folks, I can't wait for the season. And when the season starts, don't forget that I will be giving you a podcast every single night of the college basketball season. We'll be talking best bets. I will handicap every single game. We will handicap every single game. Me, Patty C, NC Nick, Noah Beanick, Ryan McIntyre. We got the whole crew. So we've been doing this for years, every single night of the season. All right. You got no excuses. All right. Check it out. This is the college basketball experience, Providence Friars style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Thank you. Well, this is a great way to get started. And I haven't even blocked all my game shots. It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family.
Team speed, for Christ's sake. And you're nothing but a chameleon, lemon-headed, coward, terrorist pussy. And I'm after you, buddy. You're going to pay for it tonight.
It's easy to see a tide turn.
When we were winning conference titles and going to the Final Four, we were making a statement.
That's how I feel. Damn sick and tired of getting out rebounded. 25 offensive rebounds. First time we blocked out, we get called for a damn block out. We're pushing people. Meanwhile, they're on the other court grabbing rebound, go over the top and grabbing them. We get one offensive rebound, then we call for over the back.
Coaching, our coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in the second half. It sucked.